right, so this is the first episode of CVCS Voices. We're just going around asking people on campus what they think about the new campus and new teachers here. Who are we here with today?
Yeah, my name is Lucas Armstrong, and I took over this summer for Coach Presler as the new athletic director for the high school.
Okay, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and what led you to this position here at CVCS?
Yeah, a little bit about my background is I actually was a student athlete both in high school and college. And in college, I found recreation and sports management as a major. Got into athletic administration my senior year and found an internship. And then that led me to my first job in college athletics. I've worked the past 9 years for the Golden State Athletic Conference as their assistant commissioner, which is a college conference office that basically manages different universities in California and Arizona. I knew a current CVCS employee, and they had reached out to me when Coach Presler was getting ready to leave and asked if I'd be interested in applying for this position, and here I am.
Gotcha. Okay.
What previous experiences do you think will be most beneficial in your role here?
Yeah, I think just working for a small college athletic conference, we really got a lot of experience with doing all different types of things: coaches meetings, AD meetings, president meetings, student-athlete advisory committees, scheduling, budgets, just all different things, websites, social media. And so I kind of view that as like the role of an athletic director here at a small high school. Obviously, we don't have a ton of kids, but being able to wear multiple different hats, I think, is probably one of the biggest experiences that I'll lean on from my professional working experience.
Yeah, of course. And with all that, how I worked at a small college and everything like that, with a small high school like ourselves, do you plan on implementing any more new athletic, so with football, we have, neon games, blackout games, camo games, everything like that, and we're putting, it's CVCS versus Aurora this week, the graphic design. Do you have any plans on doing that for the future for other games, other sports, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that's something that our athletics communications coordinator, Annika Bonson, and I have been conversing over the last 2 months since I've been here of how do we better promote all CVCS sports, not just football or baseball or whatever someone might view as a popular or more enticing sport to watch. But doing those different theme games and having a better presence on social media, both on just announcements, but also highlighting our student athletes and even our coaches, and so when coaches receive certain milestones or certain awards, they should be recognized. But we definitely are planning big things for this year, social media-wise, and trying to get SLT more involved with the helping spread the idea of the themes and what that is, because they're much more connected to the student athletes and the student body, for that matter, than to say the athletic director is.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So with that being said, what are your short-term and long-term goals here? Because you're new here, so there has to be something that you really want to do.
Yeah, I think short term, and this is a thing that I shared with all of our coaches at our first coaches meeting a few weeks back, is to make sure that student athletes are getting the same experience from program to program. So when a football player goes and plays soccer and then goes and plays baseball, that experience throughout the year is consistent from one program to the next. And just listening to different coaches when I was connecting with them this summer and just talking to different student athletes and hearing from parents, it seems like some of the experiences have been up and down. And so just having a more consistent experience for all student athletes short term, that's my biggest goal. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we do this job is for student athlete experience. I'm a former student athlete. I had a great experience in high school and college. And so what better way to give back to make sure that our current student athletes have that experience, so when they leave, they can hopefully give back in some way another day. Long-term goals, and this is more facility driven, but to broaden our real estate, our land, our development of what facilities look like, whether that's in a new location or finding other space around us that we can develop to have better athletic facilities. Obviously, that's not going to happen in 1 year, and so someone that's a senior might be I'm not going to benefit from that, and that's a long-term goal. But that does take time. It takes lots of fundraising, lots of dollars to come in. We can't just put a brand new football stadium or basketball court or baseball field in overnight. So that's more of like a, few years down the road project.
Yeah, definitely, because that's what I've heard from other students around the area is, okay, we don't have a full football field, we don't have a full soccer field, we don't even have a baseball field. And so, I mean, that's some students were complaining about that. But with these goals in mind, I mean, you can get that in the future, hopefully. Figure it out maybe on a different campus or something like that close to here.
How do you plan on changing or improving any of the existing programs here at CVCS?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I touched on a little bit earlier about just the consistent experience, I think that one short-term goal will help with, improving all the programs, of making sure that all student athletes are getting a positive experience. Not really taking away the wins or losses, but more just like, are they being able to connect with the coaches? Are they being able to grow in their faith? Are they being able to play a sport that they love, or is that sport, not becoming something they love anymore? I mean, I think we all play sports for the reasons of loving the sport, or that, we grew up watching it, or our parents played it. And so making sure that student athletes are engaged through the sport for the reasons why they first started playing it. As far as like the improvement, I think just being able to have better athletic facilities is going to make everyone's life a lot more happy. And I know that we don't have the greatest space, right? I don't think we can hide from that. Like, that wouldn't be fair. But I do think that our staff, prior to me getting here, has done a great job of using the space that we currently do have. Like, we're very effective with the spaces we do have. Yeah. I don't feel like we waste a lot of land that's just sitting there that's unused. And so getting those new facilities in a few years, I think, would help, obviously, the experience for student athletes being able to have a football field or a baseball field that they can call home and not have to go down the street or go to the park and say, like, oh, this is where I play.
Yeah. Not to compare anything, like, of course, like other private schools in the area, like Korean Lutheran, Santa Margarita, of course, they're bigger schools, have more utilities. So, I mean, that could be a reason that they're the better program. When it comes to weight room, having more utilities to use there, so stuff like that. I'm not obviously comparing, I'm just saying compared to other private schools, our land is a little smaller, so we don't have all the tools to use for sports and stuff like that.
I think another thing, too, that we can use to our benefit that sometimes is missed, that, the facilities don't provide, is quality coaches. I mean, if you have a coach that you love, or that is going to support you and have your back in good times and in bad times. I mean, anyone that plays sports knows that it's never easy. And so if we can have quality coaches that we can retain and keep consistently, I think that helps our athletic experience for our student athletes, especially as hopefully those facilities begin to improve.
I think that our football coaches, me and him both play football, and I think they're both very, all our football coaches are very
experienced, I'd say. Yeah, they're definitely experienced. With our new head football coach, you and both being new, a lot of new teachers and coaches this year, with Coach Camarillo coming in from St. Margaret's, I believe. It's pose a challenge. Okay, can you make this football team good? Like, can you show why you're a good head coach and everything like that? I think you coming in as a new athletic director, help him with that, talking to the coaches, okay, what can we do to make our team better and stuff like that. Not just with football, I'm talking about volleyball, baseball, everything like that. With that being said, how do you support and advocate for athletes who balance sports and academics? If someone's struggling with academics or anything like that, how would you help them with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing that I've always kept at my forefront in my athletic administration background is there's a reason why it's student athlete and not athlete student, because that academics part does come first, and that's the most important part, because if a student doesn't have the proper GPA, well, they can't participate. And so how do we support with that? Well, is their class load, is their class schedule appropriate? Like, are they in the right classes? Are they being challenged, but are we making sure that challenge isn't too much? And then time management skills, and hopefully our coaches and myself included, and my assistant athletic director, John Bonson, if student athletes need help with their time management skills of, hey, what's your student balance and what's your athlete balance, and what does that look like versus your personal life balance? I think that was one of the hardest things that I struggled with in high school and college, was my time management skills of wanting to find time for all the things that I wanted to do. And so like using my experience and hopefully giving back, and just knowing that if student athletes are struggling with their time management and feel like maybe their academics is too much, or hey, athletics is taking a toll on me, like I don't have time to study, like how can we help support that? Like come to my office, I can support you in any way. Obviously we have our counselors that are great supports too if like a class isn't working out the proper way. But just knowing that us as athletic administrators are there for the student athletes.
Oh, yeah, of course. And then another thing, like, if there's anything about CVCS you could change, what would it be, like, right now? If there was anything that's just like if anything you could change.
I think the school and the community is great. And so that's been one of the biggest blessings for me, is like everyone that I've encountered has welcomed me with open arms. Only being here for 7 weeks, it seems like a long time, but it's really not that long. But in the little that I do know and the little that I have seen, I think the one thing that I would change as the athletic director, like short term that's possible, is just that all of our community and student athletes all support each other. Like the baseball teams and the soccer teams come into the football games, and whatever other teams come into volleyball games. And when the winter season starts, does football support basketball? And just like showing that love from program to program. Because that was something in my previous job at a college that I was at. We had like an adopt an athlete program where basically every team was adopting another player from a different team, and it showed just a ton of intra-team camaraderie across the entire university. And I think we can really grow that in our small community because we don't have thousands of students to rely on, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have a couple hundred students to rely on. And so we all have to support and love one another. And hopefully we can do that through athletics, and that will grow to our bigger community.
I got you, yeah, of course. And then, Cameron, do you have anything?
Yeah, so like you coming into CVCS, what do you think was like one of the most impressive things like that you saw here? Or what was something that you were like impressed with when you came here?
Yeah, I think two things. The biggest thing was the support that athletics has at this school. And Mr. Choi and Mr. Walker, the high school principal and the head of schools, and how they valued athletics. I think in my interview process, I really appreciated that, because I've been certain places and I've seen certain even universities where athletics isn't valued. And knowing what role athletics plays in a school is huge. I mean, a lot of athletes spend more time with their coaches than they do their teachers. Mm-hmm. And that's just due to how sport works. So that's one thing. But two, just honestly, the great coaches that we already had in place. I mean, you guys talked about Coach Cam a little earlier and like his first year being here, but just how solid he is, and he's a young, great coach. And then you have coaches like Coach Clemente in the baseball program, and Coach Bond in volleyball, and Coach Bonson in basketball. Like I'm missing some, but there's a ton of great coaches that are already in place. And the few coaches that like I've had to hire this summer, like our boys soccer program, is going to be great with Coach Sosa. He was at Elisa Nogel for several years, and that's like a soccer powerhouse in Orange County. And so being able to bring him in and hopefully like take our soccer program to the next level. So just the coaches that were already in place and the ones we're adding, I think were attractive to me, but also just the support that our upper administration knows that athletics has an important role in this school's footprint or this school's body.
Yeah, of course. And then this is my first year here as well, transferred from San Juan, but went to my first home game at Laguna High School. It was a good amount of attendance, but is there anything that you want to do to make the attendance go higher with spirit wear, stuff like that? Just what I'm trying to get at is people like showing up to the games. Like that's what people want. That's what players want. It strives them to do better, seeing everybody in the crowd, hyping up, everything like that. So I think I could speak for all football players saying when like we need people at the games, stuff like that. Speak for all volleyball players, soccer players, baseball players. They want the fans to come to the game. So pretty much what my question is here, like what is your plan of action? Like with the adopt an athlete, do you plan on implementing that here to get more people to show up to games?
Yeah, I mean, I think given the challenges that we have with not having our own football field, right, and those being off campus, the location obviously does help, and so obviously maybe a game like homecoming or senior night that's going to be at J. Sarah this year is going to be more highly attended than a game at Laguna Hills or Tesoro will be, just because of the distance and the proximity to those schools. But not making any excuses for the distance or where we're playing, I think the biggest thing goes back to, do we have attractive theme nights to where students want to dress up and show their spirit? And then do we have good giveaways or incentives for students to come? You know, like, are we throwing things into the crowd? Are we giving out free, you know, I don't know, free meals, free pizza,
T-shirts,
like
stuff
T-shirts,
like that, yeah.
like swag.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, the whole thing with like the adopt a athlete, I'm actually working with like the coaches on even adopting teams, and you know, we are having coaches come to each home game that we host, and a specific team is required to work the ticket table for that home game. And so like if the baseball team coaches are working the ticket table, well, then we're encouraging the baseball athletes to come to the football game. And so trying to build that like intra-athletic department camaraderie amongst all the teams that can hopefully translate to more students coming to football games. But a large part has to do with, like, are we getting the word out too? Do people know about it? Is there knowledge, whether that's social media, whether that's school announcements? You know, are the football players talking to the younger kids? I think that's another thing too, is like we don't have a couple thousand kids, right? So can we talk to our middle school kids and can we talk to our elementary school kids in passing and say, hey guys, we got a football game this weekend. Come out and support us.
Yeah.
Because we really are like 3 separate schools here, but we are just really one larger school. And so we need to rely on those families and those students of the elementary school and the middle school to help us. You know, because if we have 50 players on the football team and only 200 and something high schoolers, well, there's your student body. I mean, if all the students came. So we can rely on our outside community and some of our younger community members to help grow that attendance.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you, though. That actually helped us. You know, we're probably going to repost this on our podcast, and then people will look at it. So thank you for that.
No, I think
we'll
you
be good
guys.
to go.
And,
So do you have anything else?
Just know, like, if you guys ever need anything or any student athletes need anything, they can stop by my office. I'm where Coach Presler used to be, upstairs in the corner up there. So wish you guys the best of luck this season.
All right, thank you.